Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. We're on your United show today, Keane on United. And today I'm joined by two very special guests here this evening. So I'm joined by Mark from All for United and the Elite Football Show. And I'm also joined by Adam Matic from the Madrid United YouTube channel. How's it going, lads?
Yeah, good mate, cheers.
Not too bad, thank you, mate. I'm not so sure about very special, but I appreciate the sentiment. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all, no problem. So I suppose, lads, look, just before we delve into kind of all the Manchester United talk leading up to the Newcastle game, I'd just like to get both your thoughts on the international break. Now, obviously, look, for all our Irish viewers, the international break was a very bleak a couple of weeks for us, in terms of our games. It was a very tough watch. But I suppose, lads, from an English perspective, like how do you think kind of England got on in your couple of games, and kind of how would you kind of rate Gareth Southgate's kind of management style over the last kind of couple of weeks? Mark, I'm just going to come to you first with regards to that.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't really seen much of it this week, only because I've been moving and stuff. So apologies, first of all. But from what I have seen, I think there's a lot of questions really with Southgate at the moment. I know it's very flippant of us to be able to, praise him one moment for the World Cup. And obviously, I just feel at the moment he's getting a few things wrong. He seems to be singling out players a bit Grealish. I think he's been fantastic, and I think he's should be given the nod a bit more often, to be honest. And I think he likes to sort of praise Mount a little bit. And I think it was a good result against Belgium. My boss is from Belgium, so I had a great time rubbing that one in. So I was pleased with that. It's nice to beat the number one, and by all accounts, we played quite well. A bit disappointing last night. I think Harry was unfortunate to be sent off, but by all accounts, he was shaky as well. So it's just a shame that the internationals now, even for me, I think I was quite passionate about it up until more recently. It's just a shame that it's lost its prestigiousness, and it is a real shame, because it should be something that we look forward to, unite as a nation and enjoy that, and it's a real shame.
And Adam, what did you make obviously of the international break as well? Because look, Mason Greenwood and Phil Foden though didn't get called up for England during this time, and I suppose in certain games that England kind of lacked that kind of creative edge. Whereas if they had like a Mason Greenwood and a Phil Foden, do you think maybe England would have fared better in them games? And do you think maybe Southgate was wrong not to pick the two lads?
Mate, I'm not gonna lie to you, mate. I despise international breaks, mate. It do my nutting, mate. And I don't think Greenwood or Foden would have made a difference. It's like Mark was touching on it there. I mean, Southgate's got an abundance of talent to pick from. I think he's got too much because he just doesn't know what to pick anymore. He really doesn't. The Grealish shout is a good one. The fact that Sterling has to play, Rashford has to play, Kane has to play, then you've got Sancho on top of that. And then the midfield comes up. It's like Henderson has to play. He's just lifted the trophy. He's just lifted the title for Liverpool. But you've got a shout for Mount. There's an abundance of players there. One thing that England are lacking on, which reminds me of United a lot, is the defence. Defence is probably the worst it's been for a long, long time for England. And it is what ultimately will make us, or will stop us from winning anything serious. I mean, England doing what England does best. We beat the best teams when it doesn't matter. When the big tournaments come around, we have the mental block, and it's the English mental block. I don't know what it is, mate, or why it always happens, but it always does. We just beat the best team in the world in the week, and then we all come out the international break in depression because of watching what we did against Denmark, not being able to score one goal against Denmark in 180 minutes. That is dull, mate. I know you Irish guys are not really pulling up trees in terms of attacking and having many exciting games, mate, but England, oh God, it was boring to half exciting to boring again. And it's the same all the time with England, mate. It's never going to change. It's never going to change. Sometimes just don't try and copy what all the other countries do. You know what? Sometimes just do a Mike Bassett and play some 4-4-2, play some English football. Because trying to play like these talented international teams, this ticky-tacky football and stuff like that. It won't work, and it will never work for England ever, because we're not as good as the teams that invented that style of play. Get your own style of play. Play some English football every now and then. And you know what? It may take us farther than what we actually think, because at the moment we've got no identity. I don't know, like you said, what the best team is, what the best formation is. And you know what? Probably going to lead you into your next section in terms of United, because it's exactly the same, mate. We've got plenty of great names, but we just haven't got a great team in terms of it all gelling together. And that ultimately is the big issue. It's moulding it and finding the right system that works and the right style of play, because it's anyone's guess at the moment. You just don't know what's turning up. England pretty much fill me with as much as excitement as United at the moment, except United just seems to count more than international football, mate. That's all. I can't even get excited about England right now, knowing what's going on with my club right now.
Yeah, like look, I thought from my perspective with Ireland at the moment, because like we were under a new regime under Stephen Kenny, and I thought, look, after that kind of the result against Spurs, the 6-1 defeat, I was thinking like, look, this international break for me, it's a bit promising because we're under a new regime. And I thought, look, it'd be a kind of an escape for kind of the transfer window and kind of stuff that happened with us before the break. But then we haven't scored a goal in 9 of our games, and you know, we actually tried to play on the front foot, but we just lack a striker. And I look at England and I look at the attacking talent that England have. It's second to none. It's unbelievable. And I just looked at Ireland during the international break, and you know, if you gave us another 180 minutes, we probably wouldn't have scored a goal. And it just, I don't know, international break kind of sickened me, and it kind of made me excited for United coming back this weekend. Even though, look, it's well documented we have our own problems at the moment, which we are going to discuss right now. So obviously, look, Harry Maguire was sent off last night for England, and he seems to be a player that's, you know, under massive scrutiny at the moment. You know, obviously with the troubles he had over the summer, his current form for United, and he seems to be kind of stuck in a very, very tough situation at the moment. And it seems like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now has a very big decision to make this weekend, with regards to selecting Harry Maguire. So, Adam, I'm going to come to you first with regards to the situation. Does Ollie stick with Harry Maguire this weekend, or do you maybe think it's time that he needs some time out of the team, though mentally he's not right? Do you maybe think it's time that he maybe gets, I suppose, a prolonged period out of the team?
Well, so am I actually on there? I can't tell if anyone's moving or not. Are you both saying dead still? Like statues, I'm like, as he froze. No, I was looking at it. I heard this whole debate about Maguire and resting him, and I see the positives in it. I'm thinking, you know what, maybe a break will do him good. But when you're supposed to bring him back, PSG, Chelsea, Leipzig, Arsenal, Everton, because that's all the games that are coming up. When you're supposed to bring him back, there's no confident boosting game for United anymore. You're playing at Manchester United. Deal with the pressure or go. It's as simple as that with United, because like I said, you ain't ever going to get an easy game. What will a break do if you've got to come back and play against a team like Everton and Calvert-Lewin? Because that's the game everyone's talking about bringing him back for, if you look at it. And then you get into December, you've got Calvert-Lewin again, because we've got to play Everton in the Carabao Cup. So I understand the call for taking him out and giving him a rest. Maybe mentally, that's where the problem is. I still do feel like there's a player inside Harry Maguire. I really do, and I'll still back him. I'm a big advocate for, if you're not playing right, there's no one player who doesn't deserve to be dropped in that team. So yeah, but would this Newcastle game be the game where he's got a better chance? There's none of the games where I'd be confident in seeing him play, mate. If you brought him out and then brought him back in, he's just bringing him back into a melting pot again. The pressure will come straight back on, more so than what it is now, because of the expectation levels of when he comes back. For all the fans will be thinking, right, he's had his time off now. Now I really expect something from him. And you can't expect him to come back firing, especially not in the cut and thrust of them games that I've just mentioned, mate. Because, yeah, 1 week you've got Sam Maximin, and then you've got Mbappe. Then you've got Calvert-Lewin. You've got a world of pain coming at you, mate. You really have in all these games coming up. Let's not even mention Werner and Havertz and all the Chelsea crew that are coming up soon as well. And then Aubameyang for Arsenal. there's no rest, mate. There really isn't. He will say to Wally, "I'm ready to play," like every player would. Not one player is ever going to say, "I'm not ready to play." So it's now comes down. It's not down to Maguire. It's down to Solskjaer. It really is. Does he change the system that helps the defence a bit and boosts his confidence that way? But then if you're concentrating on Maguire, what about the other duck eggs that are at the back with him, mate? Because let's be honest, none of them are pulling up trees either. It's just because Maguire's 80 million, he's the captain. And his life is going up the shitter at the moment. It really is. I do feel for him a little bit because I tweeted it out the other day. It never rains, it pours. And when things are going down, they just seem to keep going and keep going. I think he's literally at rock bottom now, mate. I can't see it getting any worse for him. I mean, the shower that there was against Spurs, coming into the England team, getting sent off, it doesn't get much worse, mate. It really doesn't. And you know what? You look at it and go, it's only one way to go now, surely, and that's up. And then I think, you know what? You may be contradicting yourself, Adam, because them games that we've got coming up in the next few weeks scare the living piss out of me, mate. It's frightening to think what could happen to us. And then you just got that little bit of hope in your head thinking, you know what, maybe these are the games when the players might actually step up. Because if they don't, then it's the end of the road for Solskjaer, mate, if you look at it like that in a realist sort of way.
And like, I look at this situation and look, this run of fixtures couldn't have come at a worse time for Harry Maguire. It really couldn't have. Like, no. It's such a tough run. There's no easy games in the Premier League. Mind you, then we have Champions League, we have Carabao Cup. It's such a busy period for United. I even look at the picture of him today arriving into Carrington. The man just looks dejected. He looks shocked.
Driving into Manchester weather, mate, it's not a surprise, mate. It really isn't.
Like, Mark, what do you make of this whole situation? Because there's a lot of calls for him to get dropped, and people are talking about bringing Axel back in, and like, look, he's only back from a long-term injury. Like, what do you do with Maguire? Do you maybe, like as Adam said, maybe bring in a system that maybe accommodates him, or do you just like stick to the system we have, and do you maybe bring in a Lindelof or an Axel Tuanzebe to maybe kind of deputise for Maguire at the moment?
Listen, I think it's unjustified for people to get on his back, and ultimately it's Ollie's job to sort this out and make the decisions. Now, I think it would be it's a bit of a catch-22 with all this situation. Really, I think it would be very difficult for Axel or Mengi to be thrown in, but then again, sometimes it's best to be thrown in the deep end, gain your experience, get your first appearance, and to be honest with you, without the crowds being there at the moment, probably the best opportunity you're going to have. And it's a difficult one. You know, Harry's been through an incredibly difficult few months. You know, he was in Greece and obviously got arrested and what have you. And it must have been a horrific time for him. And then to come in to the starting lineup, lose 2 out of 3 games, Premier League, I'm talking about it. You know, it's going to be a huge knock to your confidence. And you've got to bear in mind that, you know, yes, he's 80 million. Yes, we had our pants pulled down. But he increased our defensive capabilities tenfold. Everyone goes through lulls, and you know, form is temporary, class is permanent, as they say. And I do believe that he will come back and come good. I think he does need some time out. I think we need some stability. All the best teams had stability in defence, and consequently, if he's going to take Harry out, then he should do it now. And you know, we've got some big games, as you said, coming up, and it's good to get some stability and you know, keep the same sort of team in there for that. So yeah, he's gone through a tough time, and you know, it's like anything. I think a lot of people forget about the psychology behind football, and you know, that especially with these days, I've said this for the last few months, really, social media is such a toxic place, and Manchester United are in the limelight all the time, and consequently, if your players are playing bad or they're playing really well, you're going to hear about it left, right and centre. I don't know any other team in the world that get as much publicity than Manchester United, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way whatsoever. But unfortunately, with that comes a lot of criticism, and everyone seems to go from one extreme to the other. People go through difficult times, on and off the field, and they need to be nurtured in the correct way in order for them to come back and bounce back. I don't think we really need to look into it too much. I know that we haven't started particularly well, but ultimately, we've conceded the same amount of goals as Liverpool. We're only 1 point behind, or a couple of points behind. And to me, I think everyone just seems to jump on it ever so quickly, and they don't need to. So I would probably, Ollie needs to make a stand. He needs to show that he's not a routine man. He has got a little bit of authority in the team, and I don't mean that negatively towards Maguire at all, but perhaps it would be a good time to take him out, put someone in that's going to have a fresh pair of eyes and given that opportunity to really make a case for themselves, whoever that might be. We've got lots of defenders to choose from. Granted, we've probably only got really 2 or 3 that are brilliant or up and coming, and maybe this is that opportunity. And as I said, we've got a lot of tough games, so we need to make sure that they are aware of what's going on, they are aware of who's going to be playing, and try to build up some sort of consistency and stability.
Yeah, I look at this and I'm literally I'm in 2 minds. Do you keep him in there because he's at the end of the day, at this moment in time, he's still our captain at the moment. He's a player who last season did improve our defence, but at the same time, you see now against teams who have a lot of pace and who are very direct, he seems to be struggling. Like, people are calling for maybe Lindelof to come back in beside Eric Bailly, and for me, looking at Lindelof in the first couple of games, like I called for him to be out of the team. So like, do you bring him back in? Axel then as well is only back from like a year out. Like, I know, like I've been saying on this podcast that long term I think he's our number 1 centre back with a run of games. If he can stay fit, I think he's someone who can definitely become one of our best defenders. But again, do you throw him into the deep end now with such a kind of very busy fixture list and the quality that we're coming up against? But again, as you allude to, Mark, there's no crowd there, though it wouldn't be as much as a baptism of fire as it would be, previously if there was a crowd there with all the added pressures there. So again, I'm torn on this. I'm really torn on it. I think Saturday, if he can perform well on Saturday, get through that, build a bit of confidence, and then hopefully, he can build on this and kind of play his way out of this rut that he's in right now, because I think that's exactly what it is a rut that he's in right now.
Yeah, I just want to add to that just very quickly, if you don't mind. The defense isn't going to change. We know that he's probably he's not quick. And I know that you mentioned about a defender not complimenting him, and that's not going to change. We have to deal with what we do and what scenario we're in now. And unfortunately, from the post-lockdown, we've been exposed a little bit, and now teams know how to come at us. But that's not going to change. There's nothing we can do until either Axel is fully fit, keeps fit and not get injured, and establishes himself as the main centre back. And obviously you've got Mengi too, so that's not going to change. So we are in the situation we are, and we have to deal with it as best we can, and only Ollie can do that. So I think we've got to support them. I'm so fed up of people being so negative and going in like, this is your team, man. You need to support them, and you need to understand that people go through some awful things. Yeah,
100%. And look, I suppose when things happen, and especially with this club, it's under the microscope so largely, and because of who we are, we're the biggest club in the world, and the minute something happens, any screed of, even it's not even controversy, it'll be blown up 10,000 times more than it would at any club. So look, we do have to, I suppose, support our team as best we can during this period, and hopefully, Ollie can get through this period, and we can get results, and get the results we need to hopefully push on, because we are coming to a very busy period of games. The second topic conversation I'd like to discuss tonight is the reports about Bruno Fernandes. Now, Duncan Castles recently kind of, I suppose, said that Bruno Fernandes has lost confidence in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that he doesn't believe Ole's the right man for the job. And Bruno Fernandes has come out and he has refuted these remarks that he never done any of this, that he's happy with Solskjaer and he's united with the team. And he's come out and basically said, like, he's nothing to do with that. First of all, do you maybe think Bruno's trying to save face? And second of all, do you think with these leaks that are supposedly coming out of the club, do you maybe think that, or do we have a stranglehold of this club? Because if that's supposedly true, that Bruno doesn't believe in Ole, do you maybe think this could create like a toxic atmosphere in the dressing room like we did have under previous managers? So Adam, I'm going to come to you first with regards to that.
I don't think Bruno's got to keep face with anything, to be honest. He's set standards that the others can't keep up with, in my opinion. That's how I've always seen it. Bruno, everyone looks at a game and watches the game differently. We've seen so many people online trying to analyse their style of play, their favourite players, this and that. At the end of the day, we all like a certain style of football. I know that playing for Manchester United isn't all about what you've got, what you can do with your feet. It's about your mentality. You need to be a different kettle of fish to play for this team. And we're finding that out now twofold. Because Bruno's come in and he plays with the winning mentality that we all expect. So I'm looking at him. The prime example was Lindelof in the final when he had a go at him. Lindelof looks at him like he'd never been shouted at before in his life for making a mistake. So that comes from the coaching. That comes from the top. And yeah, I know things probably go on behind the scenes and Ollie's no angel and all this and all that. I fully expect that. That's a minimum. So Bruno, I think Romano came out and completely quashed this whole story as well. Say it's a load of garbage. Something did happen at half-time. We know it did. It's quite simple. You don't bring off Matic and Bruno at the same time. So why it was Matic, I don't know. Some people have tried to come back at me and say Bruno was on a yellow card. That's why he came off. Yeah, I'm not having that one either. Bruno's gone off and kicked off in the dressing room. He must have. Something must have happened in there for him to come off because you're down to 10 men. We all know Bruno puts more miles in than anyone else on that pitch. And Matic, he's our best defensive midfielder, without a doubt, as much as the criticism that he does get, and we all give him from time to time for being a bit slow. I mean, defensively, he's the only one naturally defence-minded for that midfield role. Yeah, Fred and McTominay can do a job, but to be honest, if you had Fred's energy and put that into Matic, you've got the perfect holding midfielder, haven't you? But that's just it with United again. The system, the combination, we cannot find the right mix. Bruno tries to do too much, in my opinion. He's been trying to do too much for a few weeks now, and he needs disciplining. He needs disciplining on the pitch. Someone needs to get hold of him and say, look, let's rein it in a little bit. Let's stick to what your role is and let us do ours, because he's here, there, everywhere. And you know what? It's not surprising that he was going to give the penalty away against Brighton. But then again, Pogba doesn't know where he's playing. What's Pogba's favourite position? Do you know what I mean? They're all playing places where they shouldn't be playing. And then you can look at it and go, that's where Ollie needs to come in. He needs to be able to tell Bruno, stop. Just do what you do best in this area of the pitch. Stay in this area for me, doing what you do. You don't need to be here. You don't need to be all about way back there. If I've got Matic and Pogba there, why the hell are you there? You've got to be the outlet. But he can't help himself. And that's where it just looks like the discipline has gone from the whole team. Because I've said it, we've all said our piece on the Spurs game, but you know what? There were times in that game where you would not know where certain players were playing, and everyone's picked them out. It comes from the coaching, mate. It really does. There's something there, and it's ill discipline more than anything on the players' part. For them to lose 6-1 and then down tools the way they did, yeah, I can understand the shouting from the sidelines from Ollie and this and that, and I've laid into him for sitting there on his iPad doing nothing, it would seem. But when you cross the white line, you're wearing that shirt, and it comes back to the whole mentality thing again. Bruno's got the right mentality, and if it's starting to wind a few players up because all of a sudden standards are going up and they can't keep up with it, or the expectations, then they're going to start revolting, they're going to start kicking off. This just looks like is what is happening at the moment, because there's so many of them players right now who just don't look interested. I fully expect a reaction this weekend. I do expect a more solid performance, a team performance from United. I don't expect it to be brilliant. I think we may have to even go in defensive against Newcastle just to try and stop the rot. Get a clean sheet maybe, try and scrape a win, just give the defence a little bit of confidence. The team saying, look, we defend together. You know, I mean, it's not all on you. You're getting the biggest stick out of anyone at the moment. And you know what? We defend as a team. I'm expecting some form of solidarity in the team and the performance this weekend. If not, then that's when I start to worry, because if you don't get a reaction after being beat at home 6-1 by Spurs, Jose Mourinho, then I'm starting to seriously worry then, and I will start to think that Ole doesn't have control of these players, and ultimately they're the ones that are calling the shots. I said this the other day. Phelan, Carrick, Solskjaer, all three of these have played under the greatest manager to ever walk the planet and to set the standard for Manchester United. How is that not coming across into these players? How are they, of all of them? I mean, they've all been at this club at different eras, all three stages of Sir Alex Ferguson's tenure. And they know it's bled into him what is expected as a Man United player. How is it not coming across? There's three of them. It's not just one man. They all know how United work. And it just seems to be getting worse, mate. So it's hard to put your finger on it, but you can't help but think. It may sound negative, but you can't help think that something's wrong. When you break it all down like that, it's like, how can legends, and you know what? You take Solskjaer up front now, wouldn't you? You take Carrick as a controlling midfielder right now. You know what? I'd take Phelan in his 80s shorts, kicking a few ankles right now in that team. How is that? How are they not managing to get it across to the players? Respect the coaching staff. That has to be asked, because there's no way that Carrick, Phelan and Solskjaer are letting this happen or are deliberately setting the team out to be that bad. It's not possible. It comes down to the players' mentality when you cross that white line, as to say, right. And you remember the Scholes interview when he said to Rio Ferdinand when we were getting dicked 6-1 by City. I think he went up to Ferdinand and went, "No more. That's it. Shut the doors. Let's keep our pride here." But then Fergie did it straight after that game. What did he do? He won about 4 or 5 games 1-0 on the rot. He'd stopped the rot and just got the whole team playing together again. There was nothing nice, nothing fancy, nothing flamboyant. I don't think we scored more than 2 goals in a game for about 5 weeks, but we won every single game because we played together as a team. He just cut it all out. Has Ollie got what it takes to get into this team? Because it just looks like the players do what they want to do at the moment. Discipline, mentality, it's all got to be in the right place. And we're talking about Maguire before. It comes in with him as well. Think how much confidence that's going to give him if we can get like a 1-0 win against Newcastle. You know what I mean? I'd take that right now, mate. Clean sheet, 1-0, get out there with the 3 points. Let's try and build on it. Sometimes you have to swallow your pride, mate, in these things and just go back to basics. A lot of these players need to do that right now for me.
Yeah, I think, look, you made very good points there, Adam, with relation to the whole situation. From my point of view with this is that Bruno Fernandes is showing leadership quality, which is something that we've lacked in the last 7 years. Since Rio, since Vidic, since Evra, but since Wayne Rooney, Van Persie, all them who left that dressing room.
Yeah, these players are not used to getting it, mate. That's what it is. They're not used to getting it. Back in the day, you can see the Vidic, the Evras, Ferdinands giving someone an absolute verbal battering. And you know what? They had to take it. It was expected. Standards were expected. Now it's like, what? You having a go at me? Oh, you can't do that. I just don't. This is the change, mate. So I'm not surprised. Bruno, even if he is lashing out and it's we don't know what's going on behind the scene. I would not be surprised if that was happening, but it's what I want to see, mate. It really is. I really want to see players laying into each other. It's just we don't see enough of it now because it's the way, innit? It's changing the times in football, especially at this club.
Yeah, and I loved when I seen when I see reports that Bruno Fernandes is taking players out, because if Roy Keane was in that dressing room and he went in there at half time, against Spurs,
mate, they'd all need counselling. They'd all be in counselling by the end of the week, mate, if Keane was in that dressing room.
And you need someone in that dressing room to kind of lead it and marshal it. And like when I heard Bruno was doing that, it put a smile on my face because I knew, there we go, we have a winner. We have someone in that dressing room who can help galvanise that and try to bring players to his level. Because let's face it, he's probably the best player at the club. Do you know what I mean? Bar Paul Pogba on his day, which is not very often, but Bruno Fernandes at the moment is probably our best player at that club since he stepped in onto Old Trafford. So you have to look at this. When you see him digging players out, it shows, number one, his standards are there. Number two, his mentality is there. And number three, that he wants to win. That's the main thing. Like, we can't be sitting here looking at this and say, yeah, look, we didn't win this week, maybe get on to the next one. No, we demand this. We demand that we go on, we push on, and we strive to do better, because that's who we are. We're a team that doesn't rest. We're a club traditionally doesn't rest on our laurels. That we always go on and we always go on to win titles every year. Look, post Sir Alex, we haven't had that, but we need to start trying to build them standards again, because since then we haven't had a winning mentality, and that's something we need to try to build back up again in the dressing room. Mm-hmm. Mark, like, what do you make of the whole situation with Bruno? Like, what's your take on it?
So, firstly, Ollie's got a lot of learning to do, and I agree with Adam that there are 3 or 4 people in the system that should be able to portray what it means to play for Manchester United. And I think it was very apparent that we were missing leadership. However, I don't believe these rumours about Bruno being negative. I don't believe in the rumours about him losing confidence in Ollie. I feel that Duncan should be looked at and lambasted for the fact that he's come out. He is a puppet of the Glazers and Ed, and for him to come out and say something like this is disgusting. And fundamentally, they need to lay off and allow the players to play. Bruno is a leader. He has come in and he's got a bit of aggression, but he doesn't strike me as that person off the field to do that. I've seen him in lots of interviews afterwards. He's very introvert and quite sort of, calm. And whilst he's on the pitch, that's absolutely fine. That's what you want. That's a good problem to have. And I don't think he has it in him. And he's come out today and has said his comments about, we should be left alone. That's not what I would do, and whatever it was he said. I can't remember it word for word. But essentially, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a passionate sport. If they come into the dressing room and want to have a go at someone because they're shocking, that is absolutely fine. And people need to be told, and sometimes you need a rock up your arse. Yeah, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And even if he did do that, even if he was a bit over the top and Ollie had to take him off, that's absolutely fine too. People have that. We had it with Cantona, we had it with Roy Keane. Yeah, things don't change, and you need that in the dressing room. Now, I agree that Ollie sometimes doesn't get his tactics right. I think that people that say he doesn't ever get his tactics right are completely incorrect. He's managed to have a very good record against the top 6. He's managed to win 3 out of 4 games against City. And he was the only one for a long time that actually took points off of Liverpool. Now, our problem is we haven't had someone to unlock defences of lesser clubs. And that's why Van der Beek's been brought in. But he has got tactics. There is no such thing as Ollie does not have tactics, and it's incredibly frustrating for me to see this on Twitter. They don't know what they're talking about, and it's just an unfortunate series of events. I don't believe as well that taking Bruno off and Matic was a bad thing. Bruno was on a yellow card. He needed a bit of rest. He probably still looks a lot more leggy than anybody else. And the problem is with Matic is that Mourinho knows him very well. I bet you any money in his dressing room, he said, right, I want you as a 3 to completely run into Matic, run against him, make him run. And that shone through. And that's where we struggled. So I actually don't think that taking those 2 off was a bad thing at all. At this point, we'd already lost. Yeah, we were 4-1 down. And it's just about trying to save face. And when you are 4-1 down, you come in and there might have been a little bit of passion from the players. You're not going to come out and feel very confident about coming back, are you? Yeah. So it doesn't matter whether it was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We lost the game. So yeah, that's my take on it. I don't believe Bruno. I think he's an introvert person. I don't believe that he's caused any of this. He's not that type of man. He's a leader. He knows what it means to play for the club. So I totally disagree with that. And to be honest with you, I feel that Duncan should be looked at and stopped from propagating these things. Quite honestly, that's my feeling for it.
I think with any information that comes out about this club now, Duncan Castles should not be briefed about anymore. The man, he's redundant to me anyway. Some of the stuff news he briefs half of it through anyway. So that's my opinion on him. I'm just going to come to a few comments because this is streaming live on Facebook as well. Terence Massey, who's a Manchester City fan, is actually after making a comment here. He said Alex Ferguson made his players feel like brothers and family. That's the problem that United have at the moment. They don't know how to gel. That's the issue. I'd agree with that to a certain degree. Though Alex Ferguson did, obviously, when he was at the club, he did make the team feel like a family and we were very tight-knit. I think at the moment we're just on a bad run of form. Again, that's down to a multitude of things. But again, I'm not going to be calling for anyone's head at the moment. I think it's too early this season. It'd be very uneducated of me to do that, and I'm not going to do that. Again, Gary Egan said, if you lose to Newcastle, Ollie be sacked. Absolutely not. That's not going to happen.
No.
So yeah, there are a couple of comments that just flew in there. So look, I suppose the next topic conversation I'd like to come to tonight, lads, before we look ahead to the Newcastle game, just quickly, I'd like to get your thoughts on Paul Pogba during international break, because again, this was another situation where the man has come out again and said he wants to go to Real Madrid. This happens every single international break. He always says it's a dream to play for Zidane, dream to play for Madrid. Mark, I'm going to come to you first. Are you in the same position as myself? Are you just sick to teeth of the time every time Paul Pogba goes on international duty? Because for me, at the end of the day, I'm just done with the player. I'm done with him. I want rid of him. Like, what do you think?
No, I'm not done with him. He should be pulled aside and told, if Fergie was there, and again, we can always sort of throw this one in there. If Fergie was there, he wouldn't allow that to happen. And I do get very frustrated with his comments. He shouldn't flirt with other clubs as he does. And that is absolutely wrong. However, he is on his day, and I know we say this quite often, a phenomenal player. I more than anyone just hope we see it a little bit more. And it has been a frustrating time. We know that he's got it, and we know that he is able to deliver some incredible performances. I just hope it's on a more consistent basis. Now, if you look at our midfield, we, throughout the last few years of Fergie's tenure, his weakest part was his midfield. And for years, we've got the best midfield now that we've had for a long time, and that is a phenomenal problem to have. Yes, we could raise some money from Paul Pogba. Yes, perhaps his head isn't always in it. I think he's probably just frustrated. I think that we've seen on many occasions as well, again, his interviews get misconstrued, and it's very easy to take the negatives out of something and to change what people want to see and hear. Now, he also said that he loves Manchester. He's very happy where he is, and he wants to win trophies. I can understand it's very frustrating for him that he hasn't, or they haven't won trophies for a couple of years. But I there's a player in there. At the moment, as everybody's already rightly said, they don't really know what the best sort of midfield positions are. I really feel, and I was going to go into this later, I feel like that they should perhaps play a bit of a diamond. I think that Bruno is probably got the attributes of playing on the right-hand side, but I'll go into that a little bit more later. But yes, he's absolutely wrong for doing that. Someone needs to pull him aside and say, look, enough's enough. Don't do it again. But ultimately, he's one of our best players, and on form, he would do a lot for the team. And he just needs to find, like anybody, it's just because it's Paul Pogba. If someone else was to say it, we probably wouldn't lay into him so much. But like anybody, they need to find their happiness in what they do. if you're unhappy in your job, you probably find you're a bit more deflated. Yeah. So sometimes we need to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I know we've said this for a number of years yet now, but I think he's a player that we absolutely need to keep hold of. And until the day he goes, because he will go, we need to continue saying that, and we need to continue, praising and supporting them. It's like I said earlier, you support your club. Yes, they make mistakes, but it's not our remit to jump on their backs and give them an earful. It's down to the players, the people at the club, and the manager, and we just have to be there to support. Is what I feel.
And Adam, like, what do you make of these comments? Because again, like, look, as Joe Mark said, he did say he loves Manchester and he wants to win trophies at the club. But again, for me, it doesn't sit well with me because you're talking about other clubs while you're at United. Do you know what I mean? And he's done. It's not the first time he's done it. Like, what do you make of the situation?
Yeah, I mean, I don't totally agree with what Mark's saying. I mean, going into it, this is the time now where you're looking at how long's he been here now at United? Again, it's going on 4 years now. One of the most senior players, one of the most looked up to players. Everyone in that dressing room loves him. We know there's no poison in Pogba in the dressing room at all. We know this. I mean, you ask any of them players, you see all the clips from every single one of them at the club, from players as small as Dan James in his first season at United, dancing and laughing around with Pogba. There's no issue with the guy's attitude in the changing room at all. I don't think he's poison. I don't think he's a bad egg. I really don't. But what I do as a supporter, I feel like I've got the right to criticise performances, which we do. If Paul Pogba was playing great and he went into that interview, I would have laughed it off. Loads of fans would have laughed it off. It's been bigged up because of the state of the football clubs in at the moment. That's the only issue that there is there with that. The fact that we've had a crap transfer window, we've had a shocking start to the season, and it's not looking good. But what he's got to look at there, he's got to go, right, okay, I know what question's coming. Before he even sits down, he's a smart man. He knows what's coming, mate. He knows that question is going to come because, like we've talked about, it comes every single international break, and it will again next month. Because who knows where we're going to be as a club next month in terms of what position in the league we're in, what competitions we still look like we're in. So I look at it and go, right, you need everyone together for this football club at the moment. You need solidifying, you need to have big players to stand up and be one and ready to fight for the cause. First thing we do after being beat by Spurs, international break. Oh, Zidane, yeah, love it's a dream. Simple answer would have been, look, yeah, Madrid is a massive club and we never know what the future holds. But right now, I'm looking at trying to get Manchester United back to where we belong. I'm looking at trying to get this team back on form and ready for the Champions League because that's what's coming up. Done. Simple as. But no, then his agent comes out and backs him up again, saying, look, there's no drama here, there's nothing. And it's all right for him to be saying he loves Zidane, he's got an affiliation with Zidane, the French connection and all this. It's not what United fans want to see or want to be talking about. That's it. No one else in the world really gives a toss, mate, to be honest. No one else can afford Paul Pogba at the moment. So it's a nothing story. The only reason why it's a big story is because we're on our asses, mate, and looking like we're going nowhere right now. You know what I mean? If that question comes about again in a month's time and Pogba's had a great few weeks and really shown the Pogba that we know is there, then it's no problem for anyone. It's circumstances together, and because it's Paul Pogba, that is it. Any other player, it's a no story. It has to be Pogba. He's like Maguire at the back now. He's the one defender who is being earmarked because he's got an 80 million price tag on his head. He's captain of United. That's why he's being earmarked. Wan-Bissaka has been shite. So too Shaw, so too Baye, so too Lindelof. Every single one of them have been diabolical this season. But because Harry Maguire is the captain and he cost 80 million, he's getting the stick. It's exactly the same for United's midfielders and probably the forwards. People would say it's Martial who gets it. I mean, I've dug out Martial plenty of times, mainly because he was petulant in the game against Spurs, and now we don't have him for 3 games when we really need him. That's why I've had a go at Martial. I just don't think he's void of criticism like a lot of United fans think. That's my only issue with him. But it would be him. It's 50 million down the drain. Tony Martial has got the bad attitude. So whenever there's a problem with goals, let's blame Tony. You know what I mean? And whenever there's a problem in midfield or the link from defence to attack isn't working, it's Pogba. But then you talk about Mark and his tactics with Ollie, like you said, then if you knew what was right, you'd play Bruno as the 8, where he was a superstar at Sporting, and where we all know he's got the engine and the quality to play it. And Pogba plays without any defensive responsibilities at all, like he did at Juve, where we've seen the best of him. Yeah, if you've got a French squad around him with Conte next to him, of course you are going to look better defensively than what you are because he's doing all the work for you. Matic has not got that engine to do that. He hasn't got speed like these other defensive midfielders have got. For me, there's a system change. Mark touched on the diamond there. Tactics can't be as rigid as what they have been because it's one-dimensional. We all know what teams we would pick, how we would tweak it, what players can come in for certain players. But at the end of the day, we all know who's going to play at weekend. We know that maybe, you know what, there's a chance here where we can play 2 forwards, maybe an Ighalo and a Greenwood play nothing. But he's not. He's going to play Rashford as the forward. Ighalo's going to be sat on the bench. And then we probably have someone like Mata or James on the pitch as the front 3. With the same 2 holding midfielders in Matic and Pogba. And then Bruno again as a number 10. There's just got to be a bit of versatility in this team. And it comes down to players who are not in form, maybe not playing a game. Like we touched on with Maguire at the start. Maybe be brave as to drop one of the big names. It's not about the best players. It's about the best team. And sometimes the best team doesn't mean putting all the names in.
Ollie's got too much loyalty sometimes, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly that.
And you're absolutely right. Yeah,
he does. It's that playing Marcus Rashford every game. And I'm the biggest Marcus Rashford fan going. I would argue with anyone over Marcus Rashford. But I'm not stupid. I'm not naive. I can see Marcus Rashford struggling. Just bring him out. You've got a player there who can play there. If you're worried, why not put Martial on the left wing where he can play, and we've all seen him play, and then play Ighalo up front. Let Ighalo have a chance with the good players around him. Use the squad. Use the squads. Don't be afraid to drop some of the names. And you know what? Someone might come through the pack and surprise you. You know what I mean? There's a few players chomping at the bit, and we all know from what we've seen, yeah, they've not looked great, have they? When they've come on and had the chance, like Dan James, just looks like a lost soul right now. It's not easy for him to come in, but with better players around him, they might play well. They might be all right because whenever they all play, it's on a second string team that we put out in it, and they ain't playing with Bruno. They're not playing with Rashford or Martial or Pogba. None of them get the chance. I just feel like, you know what, Van der Beek could come in and do a job. Change that formation. You know what? Surprise us. Just you never know. You may be sat on the perfect formation with the players that we've got at this club, but we're never going to know because we all know which team he's going to pick already. That same 2 holding midfielders. He did it in. What did he do it? Played it in Luton. We had 2 holding midfielders against Luton. I mean, come on. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be another system that makes this team work because we have got some good players at this club. We really have. We have got some world-class players at this football club. We just don't ever seem to be able to get the best out of them. And I've said it so many times. People say it's my favourite saying, but it's just round pegs in square holes. It always takes me back to England glory days when they played Paul Scholes on the left. You know what? It's not going to work. It doesn't work. Pogba as a defensive midfield player will never work with this team. Simple.
And I suppose looking ahead to Newcastle.
Exactly. I brought you on nicely to it, Keane, mate. There you go.
Hey, look, that's you're the experienced one here. That's where you're this for a long time. I suppose this brings us to the Newcastle game. Look, Ollie has a lot of big decisions, obviously, to make in terms of formation, in terms of how he approaches this game. Because we all know the Steve Bruce side, he likes to sit down, park the bus, play a low block, and play up to the St. Maximum up front. So we do know with Newcastle, we're going to get a very direct approach with them in a very kind of physical kind of game. So Like, Mark, I'm going to come to you first with regards to this. How do you think Ollie approached this game? How do you think he should line up? Because you said you did have kind of a system that you want us to play.
Yeah, I think he's stuck between a rock and a hard place at the moment. If he loses, it's gonna. I think even if we win, and it's, I absolutely agree with you, Adam. You know, just grinding out results. You know, we did it against Brighton. We had an awful start, and to win 3-2 when we didn't deserve it. That's going to be an incredible amount of confidence. But the problem I have at the moment, the only way that people are going to get off Ollie's back is if we win and win convincingly. We need to see a little bit more of that at the moment. I feel that if he wins and isn't particularly good, it's still going to keep the pressure on him. Probably not so much, but still will. If he draws or loses, it's too overzealous to think that he's gonna go anywhere. If he loses and draws, it's going to create a lot of pressure for him, but he won't be going anywhere. It would be ridiculous. You know, we've played 3 games. There's still a long way to go. Fergie always started very slowly. I'm not making a comparison here, but let's just give it a bit of time. It's going to be a tough one for him. He needs to win, and he needs to win convincingly. I do think that he does need to stop being loyal, as I mentioned earlier, and I think that he needs to change it up a bit. I can think of maybe 1 or 2 other ways we could do it. As Adam rightly said, we've got no plan B. We seem to be very, one track minded all the time, and there doesn't seem to be any other outlet. So, but I think that we know, we're not managers. We don't know as well as they do, let's be honest. But fundamentally, I think we can kind of have an inkling on maybe how to play and who to introduce and this sort of thing. So I think that maybe he should change it up. He needs to go in with a positive attitude. He's got a problem in some key areas, obviously defensively. But they've had their international break. They've had a little bit of a change of scenery, and perhaps they can come back and really go for it. And we need to now more than ever. So I'm going to be positive, and hopefully we will have an okay game, maybe a good game, and hopefully we'll get a win out of it.
And if you had to go like your predicted 11, what would your predicted 11 be?
So I would like to see a diamond. I would like to see Tellez play. We seem to have this fascination with new signings coming in, and we don't necessarily put them in the starting 11. I hope he goes against the grain and does that. I'd like to see Tellez. I think he going forward, he's not as good as Luke Shaw defending. You two might disagree with me on that. I think it's no coincidence that Luke Shaw, when he got injured against West Ham after post-lockdown, that's when everything fell apart a little bit. And I think defensively he's okay. But Tellez, obviously, incredible going forward. He's got 11 assists, 8 goals last season alone, and he's going to give a different dimension. And I think I'd like to see him start. I actually have been saying for weeks Henderson, but it's very difficult for me to take De Gea out if he hasn't really made any mistakes. Arguably for 1 or 2 of the goals, Tottenham, but I think it would have been a bit unjustified. But I don't think you can really take him out. Wan-Bissaka, until you move Brandon over to the right hand side, he's not really got any competition, and I think he's a bit criticised unfairly with him going forward. And I think that with if we were to play a back 3, that would allow a Wan-Bissaka to focus more on going forward. I know I'm not using that in my example now, but that's another option too. In the middle, I mean, it's anybody's guess. I would, if this was me, I don't think he'll do this, but I would have Lindelof and I would have Bailly. I know he had 90 minutes the other day. He wasn't injured like everybody thought, or seriously anyway. So I would start with him. Perhaps Axel, as I said, good opportunity for him. Now in the midfield, I would have Matic as holding. I would have Pogba on the left. We've spoken about this so many times that at Juve he was great on the left, allowed him to roam. He could go out wide, cover that width if the defenders aren't pushing so forward. And then I would have Bruno on the right hand side. I think a lot of things, as I mentioned earlier, suggest to me that he can play on the right. He's better as a number 8, as Adam correctly said earlier from Sporting. That's where we saw him at his, well, not very best. He's come into United and done incredibly well. So, but I think that him as a number 8 would be the better option, and he very much did that for Portugal the other night. And I think that that's his best position. We haven't really played him there, but he should be given the opportunity to play there. In front of him, Van der Beek. He has been a breath of fresh air. I've said this since day one, even before who was going to be my player of the season. And I know it's very early doors, but he's been brilliant. You can see that it's constantly ticking for him all the time. He's very much got that Ajax mentality, and he's been brilliant whenever he's come on. And I think he needs to start now. No more messing about. Put him there as the number 10. And then 2 up front. Obviously, Martial's out for 3 games. I really want to see Mason there. I think he gets criticised on the right. He's not a right winger. He's a goal scorer, so he's going to get some criticism. And he's not a wide player. So if we can play him and Rashford, I don't know if Cavani's actually isolating, isn't he? So he's not going to be available.
Not available.
He played a PSG game though.
Right. Well, I would still start. I think Rashford, he's come into a little bit of form. He's got obviously a goal against, I know he wasn't great at the weekend, nobody was, against Spurs. But I think that he started to get a couple of goals against Luton and that sort of thing, and Brighton. So I really would keep him, start as you mean to go on, keep him there, and Greenwood as well. I want to see him up top. So you could do that, or you could do, it's anyone's guess, isn't it? But that would be what I would like to do, I think.
And Adam, how do you think we should approach this game? Because other people are talking about us kind of playing 3 at the back or anything like that. Have you anything different, Mark? Do you think maybe we go?
Yeah, I've got my team. I'm just going to go through what is going to happen. He's going to have De Gea in goal, the back 4, Lindelof, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, and Shaw. He's going to have Matic because he's not played alongside Pogba, and he's going to have Bruno behind Greenwood, Rashford, and Dan James. That's the team. I'm telling you right now. So anyone who's watching or recording or looking after this, Adam told you the team. It's not difficult. How I would play it is a 4-3-3. I would go Tellers at the back, Henderson in goal, Maguire, Bailly if he is fit, and Wan-Bissaka on the right. Yeah, I would then go with Matic, one holder. I would have Pogba and Van der Beek either side of him, Pogba being the left-hand side with a free roll to do and roam wherever he wants. Now you can change this when we haven't got the ball. It's simple. These are the issues I've got with our tactics right now, because it doesn't have to be as rigid as that. You can swap it. You can change things, because then you've got Bruno, who's sat more centrally and can, I would say, interchange with Van der Beek and drop when he wants to. You could even play Bruno in one of the right position of the 3 and put Van der Beek in the 10. Alongside up front, Mark just touched on it then, I would play Rashford and Greenwood at the top with one Bruno or Van der Beek behind them. I feel like that, for me, is playing players probably in the positions they should be. And I said about Rashford before being a winger. He is a winger. He always was a winger. But this system can be adaptable. It can be so adaptable between them front 4. And you know what? That's how I feel it should be. I just feel like we need to defend and defend well. So I would stick with the 4 at the back for this one. I just feel like it's hard to say, because the defence has been playing so bad, who should and shouldn't be playing. I would then look at it at this point and say, look, defensively, maybe the setup is what can give the players a bit more confidence. And I keep going on about this, but Henderson being able to control his box, come off his line, be better on the ball than De Gea is. And you know what? He's shown that he's as good a shot stopper at the moment as well. You know what? Someone bellowing at them all game behind them may give that defence a little bit more confidence, because if your keeper's shaky, It's the worst case scenario for a defender. And De Gea is shaky. I don't know if you've seen the mistake he made for Spain again, when he tentatively came for a ball and then had to backtrack. Spain lose. De Gea's fault. You know what I mean? How many times did we say that last season? He's obviously not clear, is he? He's not there in his head right now, De Gea. Go on, Matt.
I am sorry to interrupt, buddy. I agree with that, and this is why I mentioned Henderson as well. He seems to be a lot more vocal. Now, I know De Gea's had a dip in form over the last 2 years, and perhaps he is on a decline. I think you've seen with a lot of young players, Rooney, David De Gea, and a few others. They seem to peak very early and don't seem to be able to run its course. You know, Rooney started declining sort of 29, 30, you know. We could have seen him go into his 30s like a lot of other players that don't seem to get into their prime as soon. And yeah, it's not just about shot stopping. We know that he is capable of being one of the best shot stoppers in the world. Unfortunately, a goalkeeper has to be commanding. They have to have a good aerial ability and, you know, one or two other things as well. That's just the ones that come to mind. And unfortunately for me, Henderson, that's what I was saying. He looks a lot more commanding, and I absolutely agree with you. If you can have someone that's a little bit less shaky behind you, can command the players a little bit, give them a bit of awareness, then maybe that would be an incredible thing for the defence. And why not? Why not?
Exactly. Yeah. Although we did hear De Gea on that video shouting at Shaw that I'm sure everyone seen on social media for that Sun goal. I mean, that was clear as day. I mean, I don't speak Spanish, but that was pretty clear. Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw's got an issue at the moment as well, big time. I think Maguire being so bad is taking the limelight off a few of that defence, to be honest, because they all need shaking down big time. It's not just one man. It's a defensive package, which is why, like Mark said, then I'm an advocate of it. I played at centre back. If I've got someone bellowing at me for something I might not see, I'm alive. I'm kept on my toes. And then lapses in concentration don't happen as much. It can make a massive difference. Look, Joe Hart was a league winner. Pep Guardiola came in, gone. See you later, mate. Oh, why? Well, you don't fit my system. So, you know what I mean? As good a shot stopper as you might be, there's a package that comes as a goalkeeper these days. Sweeper keeper is the way forward. De Gea gets a nosebleed when he comes out of his 6-yard box. Never mind his 18-yard box.
Yeah, 100%. So look, before we get to the score predictions, lads, I'm just going to go what I think we should line up as. Now, again, Adam kind of alluded to there that Ollie's probably going to go for the same old 4-2-3-1, though kind of, I suppose, standard team he does pick. But I'm actually going to go similar to what Mark went. I'm going to go the 4-1-2-1-2 diamond formation. I'm going to go Henderson in goal. I think he should be in there. I know, Adam, on your channel when I was on a couple of weeks ago, I did say the same. My head and my heart thing with terms of David De Gea and Dean Henderson. But again, Dean Henderson has to start for me. Like he's going to be England's number one soon. He's commanding goalkeeper. He has a presence about him. That's something that David De Gea is lacking at the moment, his presence. And I think, again, a player like that can definitely improve our defence. I think by default, Aaron Wan-Bissaka goes in at right back. Again, if we can get Brandon Williams over to challenge him and maybe push him to play that bit better, because Brandon on the right-hand side can give us an attacking outlet maybe later on in the season. I think that's something that maybe we can look at. Again, Boye comes in. I know people did slate Boye when the Tottenham game happened, and look, it was his first game in the side, like his first start in the Premier League in quite some time, so I would cut him some slack in that respect. Again, I'm actually going to go Harry Maguire at centre-back alongside him. Again, I think Boye can complement his style, and I think Saturday is make or break for Harry Maguire. If he has another mare in their centre-half, you whip him out for PSG. I think that's what happens. If he has an absolute mare again, bang, you're gone. Simple as, he's out of the team. He needs to redeem himself on Saturday, and I think Saturday's the time, especially with a team that's going to play with a direct approach like Newcastle. It actually might suit Harry Maguire to play this game, and it might be a confidence builder for him for the later games coming forward. Alex Telles then at left back for me. Again, look, I've been calling for Luke Shaw to be dropped for quite some time now, and now we have a competent left back who can go on and attack and provide us that extra outlet. Because again, with Rashford on the left, while he's good out there and taking players on, he often comes inside, and Luke Shaw is never really there to provide the overlap to give us that bit extra. So I'd like Alex Telles to come in there because he has, like, statistically, he's a very good assist record in Portugal. That's like something I'd like to translate into this team because we need an extra creative edge. Again, Matic comes in a hole in midfield. Again, he's our best hole in midfielder, and I think this formation actually could suit him in terms of slotting in between the centre halves, receiving the ball early, and he has other midfield options around them in this diamond with the likes of Bruno, Van de Beek, and Pogba. Again, Pogba plays to the left, Bruno to the right, Van de Beek in the 10, but again, all these players can rotate. One thing I actually could do here, and I was thinking about it now, you can maybe play Pogba in that 10, and you can play Van de Beek and Bruno in the 8s, because work rate wise, they've both played there for both Ajax and Sporting Lisbon. And it frees up Pogba even more than he plays in the left, because you have the two boys in beside Matic who can do the dogged work, who can get the ball between the lines, who can get the ball to Pogba, who can make them late runs into the box. Because that's something, any goals he scored for Manchester United in his time at the club, it's all been running late into the box and getting on the end of things. So I think that number 10 position in diamond could suit him. And again, I've just gone with Greenwood and Rashford up front. I think Greenwood up front is a very big opportunity now to kind of make a stake for that number 9 shirt. I know Martial's done fantastic though last season, scored 23 goals, got 12 assists. But I think for Greenwood, if he can go in here and actually this kind of run of games in the league and score a couple of goals, he can put pressure on Martial. And again, as we've seen in Manchester United in years past, when we have quality in them 4 positions, so it drives everyone on to play that bit better, and we score a lot more goals, and everyone's on their toes. So that's the lineup I go with. And then again, the status quo, as Adam said, I think the status quo will probably happen again. We probably would see a Mata or a Dan James probably come into the side, on the weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
So look, just before we wrap up, I'd just like to get your score predictions for Saturday. Now, again, look, we all have a mixed bag of feelings. Are we confident, lads? Like, how do you reckon it's going to go down? Adam, I'm going to come to you first.
Simply because he needs it. I think we are going to win the game. Like I said, this is the one game you're looking at over the next few weeks where you go, this is one we got to be able to win. We have to be able to win it. I've gone with 2-1. I do feel like we are going to get a reaction. If we don't, I fear the worst. I really do, because United, when they look like they're there for the taking, everyone comes and has a bite. And I just look at the run of games and look at our defence. If that defence doesn't get a little bit of confidence soon, them teams that we're coming up against, as good as we are going forward, it's inevitable. We're just going to keep getting absolutely smashed off the park. It's just not good enough. So a win would be massive for us. It really would. A clean sheet would be an absolute bonus, but I can't see that forward line of Newcastle is the best it's been for years. Like I said, I've just been speaking to Matty from Magpie TV, and he said it's the best it's been because he is route one. He is get the ball to some maximum and let something happen. If that doesn't work, Andy Carroll comes on, and to be honest, I fear Andy Carroll going up against any of our centre backs right now, which is why Henderson starts. It changes things. It changes things because then it takes that out of the equation for me, because he will come and claim the ball. He will come and claim the ball. And before we get into another tactical players, I'm just going to go 2-1 because I know Keane wants to go and get his tea. So 2-1 United. Oh, shit, I nearly lost it. I nearly knocked everything over as well. I'm going.
That's a sign of a long day, Adam. That's a sign of a long day.
It has been.
Mark, what do you think? How do you think it's going to go down? Are you going to go ahead or are you going to go a heart kind of prediction here?
I said last night 3-0. And I know that's probably, and to us that is, I know that's probably a little bit hopeful.
You had to say that then.
Yeah,
just Newcastle can do that.
Exactly. just in case we got any doubters there. I think I was probably a bit rash with that last night. I think obviously as we've had problems with our defence, I think 3-1. I want to be positive about this, and I really want us to come out, play a good game. I know everybody does, but I just feel that it's a long time coming. We need to get that, and we need to start well. We need to
We
start
do.
on the front foot. And I'm going to say 3-1. I really want to see some goals. I want to see some good play. Forward running, going into the pockets, that sort of thing. And I think we might concede. Obviously, going on track record with defence recently. So I'm going to say 3-1.
And I'm gonna be overly optimistic now, and I'm actually gonna go 2-0 Manchester United. I'm gonna say we're gonna keep a clean sheet. Just
Ooh.
to be different. I'm gonna say Man United are gonna win 2-0. We're gonna keep a clean sheet. And again, just for our distinguished Tottenham fans on this podcast, who will definitely come at me later on. But we're gonna get the second goal is gonna be scored by Bruno Fernandes, and it's going to be a penalty.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
I do it on every prediction show. I do Bruno Fernandes penalty, and it boils so much piss. It's unbelievable.
I bet you've got about 8 out of 10 of them right, in you.
Yeah, 8 out of 10 of them right, but then the scoreline never really kind of comes in. Like, but the Bruno penalty comes in. So like if Paddy Power, is watching this, I need to get odds for a Bruno penalty every game, because like it's becoming the norm now these days.
Mate, how many penalties have there been this season? My God.
Yeah, the whole penalties this season. I'd say we're going to be on a record for penalties awarded in the Premier League this season, and Manchester United gets 60% on.
Have we had one every year? Have we had what was it I said the other day? I think I was just trying to think. Nearly every game we've played, going all the way back to when we've had a penalty, haven't we? Was it? Yeah, we've had one every game this season, haven't we?
Yeah, we got one against. Did we get a penalty?
Yeah, we didn't get one against Palace, did we? But they got one. But
Yeah,
I mean, the final, we got one in the final. We got one in the semi-final. I mean, Jesus, it was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but yeah. Penalty, you probably won't get good odds now because it's that common, mate.
Yeah, no. I need to start winning these accumulators again, because they're the only positive thing I get out of football at the moment. Lads, thanks for coming on this evening. It's been an absolutely fantastic chat, and it's good to get both your insights into Manchester United. It was great.
Anytime, mate.
Yeah, anytime, buddy. That was good fun. Thank you very much, as I said, for having me on.
No problem.
Yeah, brilliant, mate.
And if you want to give your socials a shout out, Mark, I'll get you a shout out first.
So obviously, as you can see, Twitter at Mark Biggs. I can't even remember what my Instagram is. I'm not an Instagram person, so just the Twitter one, guys. That would be absolutely awesome. Thank you.
About your channel and your socials.
Yeah, just hit me up on YouTube, Mad Red United. All my socials are at the top of that page anyway, Twitter and Instagram. You'll catch me there, and I'll have plenty going on this weekend. Big news and lots of changes coming forward. Keane already knows about a few of them, but yeah, I'll announce a few more of them at weekend, because yeah, things are changing, people.
Yeah, absolutely, and big things coming. And we just got another comment just at the end of the video. Everyone talking about Maguire, no one talking about Rashford and Martial's horrendous performance for France and England. We're over the international break already. Stop it now, Mikel. Stop it.
Yeah, done. Finished. It's gone.
At least you're not Irish, and you don't have to look at Ireland's football, because that's absolutely terrible. And on that note, look, we'll wrap up tonight anyway. You'll have a good weekend, lads. Hopefully we get the results Saturday. Yeah. And again, you're watching on pay-per-view for 15 quid. So, hopefully get your money there.
Yeah, that's it.
Right, lads, it's good talking to you. Chat to you a while.
Cheers, mate.